All right, let's dive into a really cool philosophical puzzle. How is it that you know certain things are true without ever having to see them, hear them, or test them out in the real world? Let's unpack the incredible knowledge that's already sitting inside your head. So, let me just ask you a simple question. How do you know with 100% certainty that all bachelors are unmarried? I mean, really think about it. You haven't met every bachelor on the planet, right? You didn't conduct some massive global survey, and yet you are absolutely sure it's true. So, where does that certainty even come from? Well, that powerful feeling, that gut-level certainty, it points to a very special kind of knowledge. It suggests that some of the things we know don't come from our five senses at all. They come from somewhere else entirely, a source that goes beyond our direct experience of the world. And this brings us to the key idea. Philosophers have a name for this. It's knowledge that's justified by reason and reason alone. You don't need a lab, you don't need an experiment. All you need is your ability to think it through. It's knowledge that is totally independent of what you experience day to day. Now, to really wrap our heads around this, it helps to know that philosophers have basically mapped out two fundamental paths we can take to prove that something is true. So, it all breaks down into two types of knowledge. On one side, we have what's called a priori knowledge. Now, a priori sounds fancy, but it's Latin for from what comes before. In this case, before you have any experience. On the other side is its opposite, a posteriori knowledge, which means from what comes after. This is pretty much everything you learn through your senses, like knowing it's raining because you can see it and feel it. Okay, so let's lock in that formal definition, just so we're all on the same page. A priori knowledge is the stuff we get through pure reason. Its justification doesn't rely on any proof or evidence from the outside world. In a way, it's knowledge that's already in your head, just waiting for logic to unlock it. All right, I get it. This can all sound a little abstract, a little up in the clouds. But the truth is, these truths of reason are literally everywhere. They're hiding in plain sight. Let's make this a lot more concrete. We can basically sort these truths into three main buckets. You've got the world of math and pure logic. Then there are simple truths that we find just in definitions. And finally, there's what philosophers call self-evident truths. Let's take a quick look at each one. Let's kick things off with the most classic, the most undisputed example of a priori knowledge, the world of mathematics and logic. This is a realm where truth just seems to exist, completely separate from the physical world. I mean, think about it. 4 times 2 equals 8. You don't need to go out and gather 2 groups of 4 apples and then count them all up to prove that it's true. You can figure it out entirely in your mind. Its truth is necessary. It just couldn't be any other way. And that's a huge clue that we're dealing with a priori knowledge. Okay, so from numbers, let's move on to words. Our next category is all about truths that are baked right into the very meaning of the words we use. These are called tautologies. And boom, this brings us right back to where we started. A tautology is just a statement that's true because, well, that's what the words mean. The definition of a bachelor is an unmarried man. So when you say all bachelors are unmarried, you're not actually telling us anything new about the world. You're just explaining the definition of the word. Now, this last category is a bit more subtle, but it's just as powerful. These are self-evident truths that we know are correct just by understanding the ideas involved. We don't need definitions, we don't need to do any math. You don't have to go out into a forest with a tape measure to know this is true. As long as you understand the concepts of taller and shorter, you get it. You intuitively grasp that this statement has to be correct. It's self-evident. So all these examples seem pretty straightforward, right? Math, definitions, obvious statements. Well, this is where the ground starts to get a little shaky, because this seemingly simple idea, knowledge that comes just from reason, is actually the battlefield for one of the biggest, longest-running arguments in all of philosophy. And to understand this fight, we just need one more key distinction. An analytic statement is true by definition. All the information is already packed inside the words, like saying, all squares have 4 sides. Of course they do. That's what a square is. But a synthetic statement actually adds new information about the world, something you couldn't know just from the definitions, like the sun is rising. And this is the heart of the whole conflict. On one side, you got a group called the empiricists. They argue that all this a priori knowledge is just analytic. It's all just playing with definitions. For them, you can't learn anything genuinely new about reality just by sitting in your armchair and thinking. But on the other side are the rationalists. and they believe we can learn new things. They argue for something called synthetic a priori knowledge, real, substantial truths about the world that we can know through reason alone. This isn't just a little squabble, by the way. This debate shaped centuries of thinking about science, math, and even right and wrong. So, what would an example of this synthetic a priori knowledge even look like? Well, the classic test case, the one everyone always argues about, is a statement like this. Just chew on that for a second. No object can be red and green all over at the same time. You know that's true, right? You don't have to go looking for an object like that to know it doesn't exist. But why is it true? Is it just part of how we define the words red and green? Or have you, just by using your mind, uncovered a fundamental, necessary truth about how reality itself actually works? That question, that's the whole ballgame. And this brings us right to the ultimate question that this whole topic forces us to face. What are the true powers, and what are the real limits of our own reason? Okay, so let's pull all this together. What are the big takeaways? We know there are two ways to justify what we know, through pure reason or through experience. Math and definitions are the gold standard for that a priori knowledge. But the huge, explosive debate is whether reason is just a tool for unpacking what words mean, or if it's like a flashlight that can actually reveal new, fundamental facts about the world we live in. So I'll leave you with this final, massive question to chew on. Can the logic that works inside your mind actually map out the fundamental laws of the universe? It's a pretty huge thought, and it's definitely one worth thinking about. Thanks for joining me.